Hello again, fight fans. Welcome to part 2 of TNC for Boxing Monthly this week. We're about to get into the preview of this week's action, so let's do it. Lots of action this Friday here in the United States and over in the UK. Let's start here in America. In Boca Raton, Florida, interesting prospect, Kanat Islam. Chinese born, but now based in Florida. So he's going to be fighting in front of his hometown fans, adopted hometown fans, going up against Mexican fighter Norberto Gonzalez. If you guys haven't seen this prospect, check him out. Looks pretty interesting to me. He's got some potential. But at the UIC Pavilion in Chicago, this is a great card that Top Rank has put together. A lot of fun. The Mean Machine, Egidijus Kavaliauskas. I always have trouble with that name. I think I did okay this time. He's fighting in an 8-rounder against a Mexican opponent. 16-0, 13 knockouts for the Mean Machine. Can't be in a bad fight. If you haven't seen this guy yet, you need to check it out. Alex Saucedo, another undefeated prospect. Mexican born, but now based in Oklahoma City. 24-0, 15 knockouts. He's scheduled in a 6-rounder. It'll be interesting to see how many of his hometown fans from Oklahoma City make the drive up to Chicago. I'm not sure how many hours that is, drive or flight, maybe an hour-and-a-half flight, maybe an 8-hour drive or so. I wonder how his fans will travel for that fight. Michael Conlan, Irish Olympian, famous for flicking off the judges when they screwed him on the scorecards. I was there for his pro debut in New York. What an amazing atmosphere for a pro debut. He's scheduled to fight his second pro fight in a 6-rounder. It'll be interesting to see how the Chicago Irish-American fans respond to Michael Conlan. Really international fight here. And then Mike Alvarado, remember him? He's still fighting. He's scheduled in a 10-rounder. So that's a fun, affordable fight or card with different fighters from different parts of the world and who are really just building up their careers. Some good-looking prospects there. A former champion, or titleist, I should say, in Alvarado fighting on. Should be action-packed, fun card. For any of you guys who go to that, let me know. Comment here or tweet me or whatever, and just let me know what the atmosphere is like there, the crowd atmosphere. I'm curious to see. Sometimes it's hard when you're watching a stream or anything to see how it translates through, through the camera. So any of you guys who are there live, let me know how that looks. And then in Cardiff, Wales, Andrew Selby. This is the younger brother of Lee Selby, and many people feel he's the better of the Selby brothers. He was an Olympian in 2012, fought in the World Series of Boxing from 2012 to 2015, went pro in late 2015. He's 8-0 already. This is his 9th fight, and they're moving him fast. He's already had 12-round fights. And this is scheduled, he's going up against a Nicaraguan fighter scheduled for 12 rounds. So this is a prospect that is on the fast track. They're moving this kid along fast. They really believe in him. So if you get a chance, check that out. So that's everything Friday. Now on Saturday, a couple of fights before I get to the big one. Tim Tszyu, the son of Kostya Tszyu, he is fighting in Queensland, Australia. He's scheduled in a 6-rounder. He's 4-0 with 3 knockouts. So it'll be interesting to watch him develop. Orlando Salido, I guess getting back in the ring just to stay busy. He's fighting, a journeyman level opponent in Sonora, Mexico. He hasn't fought since he was in the fight of the year against Francisco Vargas back in June. If they're preparing him, getting him busy, getting him some rounds for a fight with, there goes my phone. Let me turn that off. If they're preparing Salido, getting him warmed up for a fight with Lomachenko, this makes sense, man. Get him in there in a fight where he can get some of the ring rust off, get some rounds in, and then get him in there against Vasily Lomachenko at some point this summer for their rematch. That's a lucrative fight for him. I think that Bob Arum would be willing to pay out big money to Saucedo to make that fight happen. So I like that he's doing the smart thing, just getting in the ring, getting some rounds in, working off the rust, because he knows Lomachenko is going to be a tough one. And then, of course, big card in Sheffield. I'll talk about the main event in a second, but Jamie Cox, prospect I talked about in my Q&A section last week on TNC. This is the guy that, just signed with Eddie Hearn. He was formerly with Frank Warren. He fights on this card. He's had legal troubles, but southpaw, 30 years old, 5'11", has some tools. Be interesting to see how he looks on this undercard. But also, George Groves is fighting Fedor Chudinov. And George Groves is 25-3 with 18 knockouts. Chudinov, 14-1 with 10 knockouts. This is for a WBA super middleweight title. For Groves, he's only 29, but doesn't he feel older to you? He just feels older. Like he's been in some tough fights, man. For Chudinov, he went pro in 2009. He's only had 15 fights, 15 pro fights. He's had, I think, some injuries and some management issues and stuff like that. But 15 pro fights in a career that started in 2009, just hasn't fought anybody at the level that Groves has fought. Groves fought Carl Froch, obviously, twice, but he fought Badu Jack, gave him all he could handle. He fought Martin Murray recently, right? So he's been in there with some top guys, some top names. For Chudinov, he fought Felix Sturm twice in two very close fights, two close controversial decisions. That's it. So all things being considered, I favor Groves in this matchup. I just favor him in this matchup because he is way more battle-tested and he's been more active as a pro. And the only thing with Groves to consider is the wear and tear he's taken. He's been in some tough fights. He's been hurt, he's been stopped. So how will that correlate? How will that translate in this fight? That's the one X factor. But if he's still fresh, if he still is anywhere near his top form, I think he gets past Chudinov, man, and he wins this title. So the main event, Kell Brook, Errol Spence. Brook, 36-1, 25 knockouts. Errol Spence, 21-0, 18 knockouts. This is for the IBF welterweight title. Now for Brook, this will be his first fight since the beatdown he took against Gennady Golovkin back in September. Brook won the second round of that fight, but he was punished every round after that. And he broke a bone in his face, right? He moved up in that fight. People have talked about he moved up not one but two weight divisions. But yes, he moved up in weight, but he didn't move up in weight the way Canelo Alvarez just did against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., where that fight was planned months in advance. And there was, several months, a full camp of Canelo putting on all that extra weight and moving up. This was a guy in Brook who always was much, much heavier than most welterweights and had to cut a lot of weight to make 147. Basically against Golovkin, he ate whatever the hell he wanted and didn't cut any weight, right? Put on a little bit of muscle, but it's not as if he spent months putting on muscle and now he's got to cut all that muscle off. So when this fight was first signed, I thought, the weight cut for Brook is going to be really, really tough. I don't know about it. I don't know if he could go up that far up and then come all the way back down. But I actually think he's going to make weight safely and be okay. All that being said, the face, that bone fracture in his face and taking those heavy punches from Golovkin, it was only a few rounds. His corner stepped in and did the right thing and saved his career ultimately. Possibly even the quality of his life if he was going to continue getting smashed in the face by Golovkin with a broken bone. Might have lost an eye in that fight. But it was still enough punishment. And even though he didn't spend months putting on the weight, he still didn't have to cut weight as much. So he hasn't made 147 now in what a year, right? All those things, man, it just makes me favor Errol Spence. who's coming into this. Look, as far as size go, both of these guys are listed at 5'9". Maybe Spence is a hair taller. He has bigger reach, 72-inch reach. Brook only has 69-inch reach. Spence is a southpaw. I think Spence is the stronger, naturally stronger, harder hitter. I think he's the faster guy, the more athletic guy. Brook is obviously more battle-tested. He's obviously fought the better opposition. And I think Brook has underrated boxing IQ. He went to the Lion's Den. He came here in America and fought Sean Porter. And he neutralized Sean Porter, right? In the beginning of that fight, and I was ringside, I covered that one. Porter, I thought, was winning after the first 3 or 4 rounds. And then Brook made adjustments and down the stretch really controlled that fight and completely neutralized Sean Porter. Way better than Thurman was able to do when he fought Porter and other fighters. So I think Brook has underrated boxing IQ and boxing craft. And I think that in that sense, you want to favor him, right? But all the X factors I talk about, man, I just have a gut feeling that youth is going to be served in this fight and that Errol Spence is going to show up. And yes, he hasn't fought the big names. The biggest name he's fought so far is Chris Algieri, who he blew through and stopped in a way, no one's done what he did to Chris Algieri. Nobody. Not even Manny Pacquiao. So I think that the power's for real. I think the athleticism's for real. The one thing we don't know is how does he take a shot? And he will take shots in this fight. Brook will absolutely find angles and land shots. If Errol Spence can take Kell Brook's punches, he wins this fight, and he possibly wins by late stoppage. My official prediction is Spence by decision, but I really think he could stop him. I just have a feeling, guys. I have a feeling that he could target that eye, start busting it open, and maybe there's some scary moments. Maybe Spence is even put down early or buzzed or hurt. But if he weathers that storm and starts laying a whooping, not a whooping, but he starts laying leather on that cut or on the former fractured eye socket, the orbital bone. It starts swelling that thing up, starts leaning on Spence. I think that all the up and down in weight Spence has had, the injuries, the layoff, all that's going to start taking a toll. And I get it. Look, Spence hasn't fought since he fought Bundu back in August. He fought Bundu last August. So actually, his layoff is slightly longer than Brook's. But Spence's layoff is due to his damn advisor, his management. Brook's layoff is mostly due to injury and recovery. That's a different kind of layoff, man. And yeah, they're both going to have some rust early on, but I think middle rounds, late rounds, the layoff, the injury, the weight fluctuation, all those factors start to matter and they start to favor Spence. So I'm going to go with Spence by late TKO or by decision. And that's my gut feeling, man. Either way, if there's a winner in this fight that's a clear, decisive winner, they're probably the #1 welterweight. And I've said this for a while now. I thought that Kell Brook was the best welterweight in the world before he moved up to fight Golovkin. If he's anywhere near the form he was before that, he wins this fight and he's still the #1 welterweight. And man, if he pulls that off, if he's able to move up to middleweight and fight the beast, the monster there, and then come down and defeat the next big thing in American boxing, which is Errol Spence, that's really impressive. That's pound for pound list impressive. And you'd have to say he's the #1 welterweight. If Spence looks dominant in this fight and actually stops Kell Brook on foreign soil in the UK, I think Spence is in pound for pound talk. I think Spence, you could argue he'd be the #1 welterweight. It's just for him, he doesn't have the number of opponents. So it'd be between him and Thurman, right? It really would be between him and Thurman, but Thurman would have more top wins, right? So we'll be talking about this in coming weeks. There's so many ways this thing could go. There's so many great X factors, and it's really a 50-50 matchup, and that's why it's such a great damn fight. I think that this is a sleeper for one of the best matchups of this year. And I know some of you are saying, duh, no shit, it's one of the biggest matchups. But guys, there was a lot of hype around Joshua Klitschko. There was a lot of hype around a couple other fights, but I think this one is kind of falling under the radar with casuals, and I don't understand why. If you have friends who are casual boxing fans or MMA fans, get them to watch this damn fight. I'm telling you, it's a sleeper for a really great matchup that's going to live up to the hype, man. So that's the way I see it, guys. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you at the fights.